I could hear them laughing before I even reached the table. Not because something was funny, but because they felt superior. Because they believed they were better than me and wanted everyone to know it. It was a corporate dinner, expensive suits, designer bags hanging on the chairs, people who treated dining out like a performance of their own success. And I was just the waitress bringing their food. I approached the table with my tray and my usual polite smile when one woman looked at me and said out loud, "I could never do a job like this, just standing around all night serving strangers." And the laughter came instantly. I stood there pretending not to hear it, pretending it didn't sting, pretending I wasn't being reduced to nothing in front of a room full of people who had already decided who I was. I've been a waitress for 4 years, long shifts, aching feet, burns on my arms from hot plates, and countless moments where people look at you like you're invisible, like your job defines your intelligence and your worth. That same woman waved her hand at me and said, "You can go now." Like I was a dog that had finished a trick, and I smiled because that's what you do. You smile and walk away if you want to keep your job. I went back to the kitchen telling myself not to care, telling myself I was used to this, but the word beneath me kept echoing in my head, louder every time I replayed her voice. I thought about the nights I came home exhausted, about the bills this job paid, about the classes I attended during the day, and how none of that mattered to people who only saw an apron. When I returned with the dessert, she looked at me again and said, "Don't you ever feel invisible doing this kind of work?" And once again the table laughed, louder this time. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not visibly, but quietly. The kind of break that happens when you realize how small someone is trying to make you feel. Then someone at the table stood up. A man who had been quiet the entire night. Calm, confident, clearly uncomfortable with what he'd been hearing, but unwilling to ignore it any longer. He looked at the woman and said, "I've listened to you all evening, and you need to understand something." And the entire table fell silent. He turned to me and asked my name, and when I told him, he nodded and said, "She's not just a waitress, she's one of the hardest working people in this room." Then he said something none of them expected. "I own this restaurant, and I know exactly who she is." And the energy in the room changed instantly. He explained that I was a full-time student, that I worked multiple jobs, that I had never once received a complaint, and that I showed more dignity than anyone who had laughed at me that night. He looked directly at the woman and said, "Your meal is comped, not as a favor, but because I don't want your money, and you're no longer welcome here." They left without saying a word, without laughing, without looking at me, their confidence gone as quickly as it had appeared. The owner turned to me and said quietly, "You never have to accept being treated like that." And in that moment, I realized something had shifted inside me. I still work as a waitress, but I no longer apologize for it because there is no shame in honest work. And anyone who treats you like you're invisible is only revealing who they really are. If you've ever been made to feel small because of what you do for a living, remember this: you're not just anything, you matter more than they want you to believe.